You see a grown man crying and your brain says he must care. He's crying because he's hurt, right? Because he's scared. He regrets it. He sees what he's done, right? Sometimes, sure, but when you're dealing with an abusive man, those tears are not what they seem. And we need to talk about that. Now, I'm not talking about a man crying over grief or shame or something real. I'm talking about the kind of man who's been cruel and calculated and cold and suddenly turns into this like sobbing wreck the second you decide you've had enough. And yeah, it looks real, right? The shaking, the heavy sobs, the curled up on the floor, grabbing your legs. I get it. It looks so real. Pleading with you not to go. We've all seen the TikToks, right? Men screaming and bawling and breaking down in these full meltdowns. And somehow people think that's love. I'm Lisa Sonni. I'm a toxic and abusive relationship expert who lived this exact manipulation and now help women recover from trauma bonds and rebuild their lives. Hit subscribe so you don't miss topics like this. Now, I have seen this way too many times, right? He doesn't break down when he's hurting you, but he breaks down when you're leaving. Now, if it was truly that he's broken up, why wasn't he crying when he screamed at you, when he cheated, when he ignored you for 3 days and then blamed you for being too emotional? The tears don't come during the abuse. They come when the control starts slipping. And you feel like maybe you're the one being too harsh because we've been trained to see tears as a sign of vulnerability and softness, right? As proof that there's still a heart in that tin chest. But abusive men know this. They know that crying buys time. They know that it makes you second guess yourself and drop your guard, and that you start to focus on comforting them instead of protecting yourself. Now, I want to be clear. I hate that this needs to be said, but men can cry. Vulnerability isn't the problem. That's not it at all. It's a normal human emotion. But when a man uses tears to deflect from what he's done or to avoid the consequences of it, it's not vulnerability, it's a strategy. And when it comes from someone who's hurt you over and over and over, who's only emotional when he's about to lose you, it's not trustworthy. Real remorse doesn't just show up when he's cornered. It shows up in consistent changed behavior, in follow through, in actions that don't require you to fall apart first. So if he's only sorry when he's scared of being exposed or abandoned, it's not about you. It's not about you at all. It's about him protecting his own comfort, his own access to you, and his image. And I've had women tell me constantly that they felt like the abuser for walking away because he's crying. That's not an accident. That's it doing exactly what it was designed to do, right? It flips the script. He goes from the aggressor to the victim, and suddenly you're comforting the same man that made you feel like you were losing your mind for months or years. And you question everything again. So ask yourself, when else have you seen him turn on his waterworks, right? Probably when you caught him, when you started packing, when you finally told someone, when you said, I deserve better. That's not about love. That's about control slipping out of his hands. And we need to stop assuming that emotion is empathy. Just because somebody's crying, it doesn't mean that they're safe or vulnerable or crying for real. And it's so interesting because men accuse women all the time of manipulative crying, and men do it all the time. I've had clients whose abusive partners sobbed in court, in front of therapists, in front of the kids, only to go right back to the same controlling, degrading behavior the next day. They know what works. And for a lot of women, tears work better than threats. Threats can be like a little more obvious. But what makes it worse is that you want to believe him. Because if the tears are real, maybe the relationship was too. Maybe he does love you. Maybe this really is rock bottom. Maybe he's finally going to change this time. Deep down, girl, you know the answer. You've seen this scene before. Real change doesn't come from a breakdown. It comes from effort, consistency, and work that continues even when nobody's watching. Most abusive men don't want to change, right? They want you to just stop asking for more. They want you to lower your standards again. They want things to go back to how they were, where they had all the power and you were stuck hoping for scraps. So if he's really sorry, he doesn't need to cry to prove it. He'll back off. He'll prove it by letting you go. He won't guilt you into staying. He won't play the victim. He won't beg while you're sitting here just trying to breathe. If he's still trying to pull you back in while he's crying, he's not sad. It's manipulation. So the next time that that man is sobbing on the floor, can you please ask yourself, what happened right before the tears started? Did you finally say no? Did you set a boundary? Did you say out loud, I deserve better than this? That's when he cries, right? Not when he hurt you. when you stopped letting him. You don't need to feel guilty for not trusting a man who's hurt you before. That's common sense. You don't need to be the one to soothe him again. His pain doesn't change anything that actually happened to you. It doesn't take away what he did. His tears don't undo the trauma that he caused. His breakdown doesn't cancel out the reality. And yet you still feel like the bad guy because nobody talks about how convincing it all is in the moment. You want to believe that it's real, and you want to believe that this time is different because that would mean that all the waiting, all the trying, all the staying wasn't for nothing, that you weren't naive, that it wasn't a waste, that it was actually love. So when he cries, it's normal that your brain kind of scrambles to make the story fit. Maybe this is the wake-up call that he needed, right? This is the man that I fell for finally showing up. Maybe he really does love me, just in kind of a broken way. But if he really loved you, he wouldn't have needed to watch you fall apart, to collapse before he started to show emotion. Love doesn't wait until the threat of abandonment to act right. It doesn't demand loyalty while giving you nothing. And it sure as hell doesn't make you feel guilty for needing some peace in your life. The truth is, most women don't want to face this, and I say this with love, is that sometimes the crying hurts more than the abuse, because it gives you just enough hope to stay. And hope is brutal in these relationships. Abusive relationships are built on hope. When everything starts to fall apart again, you're the one who feels stupid. You're the one that has to pick up the pieces of your decision and give him one more chance, again and again. And when you finally stop reacting to his tears, he'll up the intensity. Now he's crying and saying he doesn't want to live without you, making threats to unalive himself. Now he's crying and bringing up the kids, posting vague stuff online so people message you asking what happened. That's not a meltdown. That's a pretty excellent performance, if you ask me, and it's exhausting. Not just emotionally, but physically. You start to feel like your body is shutting down just to get through another round of his shenanigans. This is how trauma bonds keep you hooked, not with cruelty alone, with confusion and guilt and all these little intermittent moments of softness and kindness and sadness and vulnerability that feel like they should mean something. And the tears are a big part of that cycle, right? They don't heal anything, but they do interrupt your clarity just long enough to get you again. And look, I know how it feels in your body when he cries, like that feeling where your stomach drops and your chest is tight and your face is hot and your brain fogs up. You were ready to leave, and now you're sitting on the floor beside him, stroking his hair, telling him it's going to be okay, even when you know it's not. And this isn't weakness, it's survival, right? You have been trained to de-escalate him, to prioritize his feelings, over your safety. And your nervous system is doing what it always does, trying to make the danger stop. And the moment someone else sees him cry, suddenly you become the problem. He's bawling in front of your mom, your friends, your therapist, and now everybody's looking at you like you're giving up on somebody who's just struggling. Nobody saw him stonewall you for 3 days. Nobody heard the names that he called you in private, but they see this part, right? The mess, the crying, the part he wants them to see because he knows that it gets their sympathy. You become cold and harsh and unforgiving, and they tell you that he's trying, that he's hurt, that at least he's emotional. Meanwhile, you've been quietly breaking for months, and nobody cried for you, right? This is the part that messes with your head because you start to think, if everybody else believes him, maybe I was too hard on him. Maybe I imagined it. You didn't. He's just better at crying in front of people than you are. You've been too busy trying to hold it together, to show everybody you're strong, to not bring other people into your business. But here's what matters most: the difference between regret and remorse. Regret is when he feels bad for the consequences, for being caught, for losing you. Remorse is taking full accountability for the harm in the first place, and it damn well does not center his own feelings in the apology. Abusive men show regret. Regret that they don't get to control you anymore and to have you anymore. That's what the tears are. Remorse is different. Remorse is deeper. It says, I hurt you and I own it, and I won't ask you to forgive me, and I respect your choice to leave. But they don't say that. They cry. And if this helped, or you've ever seen this before, subscribe and comment below. Have you ever seen a man cry like this? Did it confuse you? Did it pull you back in? Did it make you lose respect for him? Did you see through it? Did you see him clearly? You're not a bad person for walking away from a man in tears, especially the crocodile kind. You are just a woman who finally sees the game.